Episode 2 of the Corp Season 3, we have Steve Madden interview. Again, an interview. We're going to give everyone a timestamp of when these were actually done because a lot has happened in the world. So Steve Madden, we interviewed, I think it was actually the day before the world shut down. So we interviewed him. He came into the Barstool office. Very, very fascinating interview. Before we get to talking about Steve Madden and what we learned from the interview and cue him up, a word from our friends at Presidente Beer. Presidente Beer, the most delicious beer out there, the most satisfying beer out there. If you are trying to capture the last couple weeks of summer, Presidente Beer is the way to go. If you're trying to drink a couple beers once football comes back, Presidente Beer is the way to go. With the title of Presidente Chairman, you know Alex knows this beer is a good bet. So what are you waiting for? Invest in your own refreshment now and grab the DR's finest export wherever beers are sold near you. And we got a giveaway. 4 lucky fans. We're giving away amazing prizes. Presidente Beer for a year, a signed baseball by myself and Alex, which will immediately... I don't even know how to do a signature, but we're going to take a picture so everyone knows that it actually is being signed by me and you. Presidente swag and Corp swag. All you have to do to enter, you must be 21 plus, following ARod Corp, Presidente USA, Presidente_USA on social media, and text your name and why you should win to ARod's personal phone number. I'm giving out his personal phone number, 305-690-0485. This beer is 100% Corp-certified and approved. Okay, Steve Madden. Well, very fascinating interview with Steve Madden. You probably have heard his name, whether it be in the shoe world or maybe you heard his name from Wolf of Wall Street, the famous movie with Leo DiCaprio that came out a few years ago. This... talking to someone like Steve Madden, who's been to prison, who is very open about their life in prison and then coming out and kind of reclaiming his company. Just an unbelievable American story of success and failure and then success again. I loved talking to him. It
was an amazing story. You're talking about a guy that's a comeback story, a guy that was in jail. I mean, here's a guy that rebuilt his entire empire from the ashes, and then the story of him going back and giving opportunities to inmates that he spent time with is just an awesome story. So many lessons, but really the epitome of the entrepreneur spirit. Mm-hmm. It just flows out of him, and there'll be a lot of lessons, especially for our young listeners.
Yeah, and loyalty. When he has loyalty to the people that he was in jail with, and guys giving him a second chance. I love hearing about that. Whenever someone has great success, but they stay true to themselves and the loyalty for the people that maybe helped them along the way. And a lot of times in Steve Madden's case, he's talking about felons, but he knows that these are good people. He spent time with them. He learned who they are, and I mean, he obviously opens up about it being a felon himself, but it doesn't matter because the land, America is the land of second chances and opportunity, and Steve Madden is a great case for this.
Thank God for that.
Also, just kind of a cool guy.
He was really cool. And
yeah.
You know what was so great about him? He was so raw with his stories. There was just no bullshit. It was real. I learned so much. I think everybody was going to really enjoy this listen.
Yes, absolutely. Before we get to Steve Madden, a word from my friends at Cross Country Mortgage. So, ARod, I don't know if you know this. Before I got into the blogging game, the podcasting game, I actually worked in real estate. And I watched firsthand as people tried to find a way to get a mortgage. And they probably, a lot of times people said to themselves, a lot of my friends, when I was in my early 20s, mid-20s, they said, I don't have enough money to qualify for a mortgage. I can't buy a home. That couldn't be more false because a lot of people don't realize they can qualify for a mortgage, and there's no reason to be throwing away your money in rent every single month when you can have a mortgage with Cross Country Mortgage. What was the first house you bought?
First house I bought was in Miami. I still own it.
Ooh.
My mom lives there right now, and it was a very special moment. It was a scary moment because I was very young, and I used a mortgage. And look, a mortgage in today's environment can be a great tool for a lot of people out there. You could afford probably more than you can, but it's also a dangerous tool. You don't want to do too much mortgages, but this is a time where there's a great time to buy real estate. Because of COVID-19, all the stuff we're doing, prices are depressed. And with a good mortgage from Cross Country Mortgage, you can be have a great asset.
And you're exactly right that the word mortgage is kind of a scary word sometimes, and you don't want to get into a mortgage that isn't right for you. And that's the most important part, because Cross Country Mortgage is looking out for you, and they're doing it on a person-to-person basis where they are kind of a mom-and-pop shop. I actually spent some time with them a couple of weeks ago. I talked to some high-level people at Cross Country Mortgage, which I was shocked at that I was able to get on a Zoom call with like the second and third in charge. But that's kind of the vibe that Cross Country Mortgage has, where they know that being approachable and saying, hey, why don't you come? Why don't you check it out? Go to ccmlens.com/corp. Take a look. And we can help you. We can have the conversation. We can start the conversation. Even if maybe today is not the day that you buy a home or get a mortgage, starting the conversation and having some understanding of what it looks like to get a home or what it looks like to save up enough to have a mortgage. That's an important first step. Don't be someone who just says, I can never afford that. I can never buy a house. ccmlens.com/corp. You go to Cross Country Mortgage and they will help you start the process. It's very quick. They can make sure that whether you're a first-time home buyer, whether you're a military vet, whether you don't have great credit, ccmlens.com/corp, Cross Country Mortgage, they will make sure that they get you into the right situation for you so that you feel comfortable. And they deliver fast closings with a highly efficient process. In most cases, underwriting is complete in 24 hours or less. And they partner with the top vendors to offer the best technology without the big price tag. They pass it off to you, all those savings. So go right now, ccmlens.com/corp. Learn more about your future home buying experience. That's ccmlens.com, ccmlens.com/corp to learn more. Cross Country Mortgage, LLC, NMLS 3029, Equal Housing Opportunity. Go to crosscountrymortgage.com for licensing and disclosures. Okay. Here he is, Steve Madden.
You're listening to The Corp, presented by Barstool Sports.
Okay, we now welcome on very special guest. It is Steve Madden, who is the shoe mogul.
Yes, sir.
His company, Steve Madden.
Yes.
Very interesting career, very interesting backstory that we're going to get into all of that. But you just said you walked in this room and you fist bumped us. Now we're taping this in the middle of the coronavirus outbreak. And I mentioned to you, I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Are we doing the coronavirus fist bump? You said, no, I fist bump everyone. So let's just get that out of the way because now it's in my brain.
So I always fist bump before the coronavirus. I think that handshakes are the dumbest habit that like men have ever created. You don't know where a guy's hand has been. And I'm not like a germaphobe. I'm not a freak. It's just, to me, it strikes me as a really stupid habit. Guys, we're grubby. Mm-hmm. We're like, our hands are everywhere, and so the thing is that I was in prison. I don't know if you guys know that.
No.
I was.
Wow. How was it?
Yes, it was terrible. So I was in prison for a couple of years, and nobody in prison shakes hands. And prison is very clean. You would be shocked. It's cleaner than the outside because guys are afraid to get sick because there's not a lot of medicine in the prison system. You get sick, you're hit. You're suffering.
You can't take NyQuil.
They don't got NyQuil.
Right.
No,
right.
They don't got that shit.
Right.
They got Band-Aids, and that's about it. So you guys, that's where fist bumps started because guys are really clean. I mean, the floors are immaculate. I lived in like a barracks. No, I wasn't in a cell. It's like, so you live with like kind of like a barracks. I lived in a cube with two other guys or one other guy, and so that guys never shake hands in prison.
So jail's like the new Four Seasons, but what the hell did you go to jail for?
So it was, I don't know if you saw the movie The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're kind of a nerd in that.
Yeah, they played me as a nerd.
I knew you weren't happy with that.
No, I actually said that I wasn't, but in retrospect, I was very happy. But it was the story. My childhood friends raised money for my company. I got involved with them and, stock stuff. And I'm not proud of it, but...
Yeah. That counts as part of your fascinating career. I think the ups and downs are incredible. So let's start with the beginning, though.
Yes.
Maybe go back to that. But You started as I was watching
We
something.
cleared up the fist bump thing.
Cleared up the fist
You
bump.
understand?
All on the same page.
Okay,
I like
so now that I'm looking very prescient because of the coronavirus.
Little do you know, when I ride the subway, I always hold the rail with my fist. So
Okay.
you just fist bump me.
Okay. Well, I think that shaking hands has got to go.
Yeah. Okay.
do.
Okay, done.
Okay. Done. All right. So you start. You are you reading about your backstory. You didn't come from a creative background. Your family wasn't. I think your quote was, "Creativity in my household was like fixing the TV."
You did your homework.
Yes, I did my homework.
Yes.
You start a shoe company out of the trunk of your car, and you basically built this entire American dream. So
Yeah.
at what point in that start where
Yeah.
you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, where you're like, this is what I want to do, and what was that like light bulb moment that went on?
Yeah. Well, you packed a lot of. Let me try to unpack what.
Yes.
I hear that phrase a lot. So basically, it was the first time that I thought that you could be creative and make money at the same time, and that turned me on a lot. You know, usually like it was kind of the way it was kind of like people sort of marched off to work, and they were the artists, and then there were the businessmen. They weren't, you know, you're either an artist, like a crazy artist, or you were like this, like straight up, you know, businessman, right? But this was like a merger of the two, you know, and that was really exciting to me. Like you could be like creative, but you could also like want to make money, you know? So like, and today you see people like, you know, Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos and, you know, maybe you, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, guys that are creative and also into making money.
Yeah, absolutely. So
We like both things.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There is that sense of like being creative can actually be financially beneficial.
You know, and also, you know, I like the idea of making a shoe and having everybody wear it. And like really, kind of like his wife when she makes a record, you know, she wants to sell it to as many people as, you know, possible. The idea that, but you still want it to be cool and creative, you know, you're not just making shit, you know.
Right.
Can we say shit on
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Whatever you
Say
want.
whatever
Yeah,
you want.
good.
Did tell me to ask Steve, you know, she's starting her own shoe company with DSW. I said, tell Steve to give me one good advice on how to build my platform. So there you go.
So she's making shoes with DSW.
Yes.
Yes.
Sounds like we're coming on your block.
Yeah, J-Lo. Yeah. So yeah, J-Lo did have a shoe license. You know, she's awesome, your wife, and people love her. And I would say that she should dare to be great. Don't try to be too safe. Because there's a lot of safe stuff out there.
Okay.
And sort of try to be authentic to who she is. And I would say to J-Lo, if she was here, if you wouldn't wear the shoe, don't make it.
Great advice. She wears it like 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So
One thing I would love to at least pick your brain about is like you start this company and you.
Excuse me. Do you call your wife J-Lo or do you call her Jennifer? What do you say?
I call her, let's see, Jennifer.
Honey?
Matcha.
Matcha. Okay.
We
cool.
call her Matcha.
All right.
So you start this company, right? And you basically bring fashionable shoes, but in an affordable way.
Yeah.
So you're bringing shoes that people might see on the runway, and you're bringing that to someone who could afford it and buy it and wear it to high school or college or, you know, to their job.
Yeah.
When you did that, was that the intention right from the beginning? Like, I want to make a shoe that's cool that everyone can buy? Or was that something like, hey, no one's doing this, I got to hammer this market?
No, I didn't. I ended up in a market by accident. I was just making cool shoes that I thought that girls that I knew might wear. And I didn't really have a serious plan when I started. I just wanted to make great shoes. But then it kind of evolved into, I don't know if evolved is the right word, but it's sort of, what happened was I made a shoe, a little Mary Jane shoe, and it seemed to be picked up by a lot of 15-year-old girls. You know, it wasn't my intent, and I started getting calls from the mothers. Do you know where we could find this shoe? You know, because nobody was, in those days when I started, it was 30 years ago, It was the Gen X market, and so I became the guy, But it was kind of an accident.
Really? Okay. Yeah, because that's always interesting to me as someone who finds this specific spot and just kind of crushes it there.
Yeah.
Was that the idea all along, or did you almost kind of accidentally fall in there?
The ability to adapt is the mark of a good businessman. Not everything, as you know, I mean, things change, and you have to, you start out this way, but maybe I have to, make a correction here.
Right.
Now your business is, moving in another direction.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So you started 30 years ago with the company. If you were 21 again now, what changes, or would it be fairly similar to how you started building this conglomerate?
Well, if I was 21, I would try to take much less cocaine than I did 30 years ago. No, but I'm kidding. That's a joke. It's tough today, but I mean, sure, there's entrepreneurs out there that are going to make it. I mean, it's always tough for an entrepreneur. It's very different. The platforms are very different. Not the shoe platforms, the platforms to sell on. And I think the big change for me, from my era, is the phone and social media. Those are the two. It's just such a huge shift that, it's just a game changer.
Yeah, it is.
Now, even with that shift, though, I was reading that you guys still, with your shops, your brick and mortar shops, you have a kind of a rule that if you sell, I think it was 8 out of 12 shoes in the Soho shop on a Saturday, that's a hit. You still go by that?
Yes, we track it in stores and on the internet, and we're very much still a big testing company. We always do that.
Right.
It's a big thing that we do.
So that's an interesting, part where you're
we have stores all over the country.
Right.
So we don't just test in Soho. We could test in Atlanta. We could test in North Miami. We could test in Orange County.
And having that ability to be kind of at the cusp of, trends and fashion, have you found that gets more difficult as the market gets clouded and internet and everything comes around, or?
The internet is, it's different. The hits are anonymous as opposed to, I used to stand in the stores. I'd go to Miami. I'd sit in the stores and watch the girls try on the shoes. And there's stuff that you don't just get from a page. It's you can see the way the woman reacts to a shoe, and that you don't get on the internet. Mm-hmm. But we're still doing both. And it's working.
Yeah. It absolutely is working.
Yeah.
I got a little whoa question for you. Mm-hmm. This one's going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
When you're creating a shoe, do you know it's going to be fashionable and trendy because you know what fashion and trends are, or do you know it's going to be fashionable and trendy because you created it? So are you the trend maker?
Well, that's a good question.
Thank you. I thought so.
That is a very good question. And I would say both things are true. I do lead and I do follow, at the same time. And, back in the day, I'll give you an example. I made a loafer. It was a traditional loafer that I kind of like funked it up. Made a big broad toe and a big fat heel, and it was very successful. And all the kids wore the shoe. And then, so I was doing an appearance at a store, and some little teenager came and went to the shoemaker and put some big platforms on this loafer I made. I took the shoe and ran with that shoe for a while. So it's a combination. So the women really influence me, and at the same time, I'm influencing them. I think it's like that with pop stars, probably too.
Yeah.
I've heard David Bowie actually talk about that.
Like the back and forth.
How he was such a leader, he did a lot of different things, but he was also affected by his fans. They would change him, it was kind of like a give and take.
Back and forth.
Steve, growing up, I mean, you said 30 years ago, who were some of the either mentors that mentored you or figures that actually inspired you as a young man coming out of Queens?
Yes. So that's a sort of interesting. So some of my mentors, you don't know, they were obviously, my dad was a big hero of mine, and I worked I worked in a shoe store. This guy Jack was a big hero of mine and mentor, not a hero, mentor. But I was inspired by Spike Lee. You know, I've never met Spike Lee.
Love Spike. He's the best.
I always wanted to tell him, but I never approached him. And I've seen him around.
You should tell him. He'll appreciate that.
He's my age, but I remember the movie.
Do the Right Thing?
Well, Do the Right Thing was great. I've seen all of his movies. I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah, me too.
I don't have to meet him. It's fine, you know. But it was called She's Gotta Have It. And it was when I was starting. I was so inspired by that. You know, I'm inspired. I was, you know, Richard Pryor inspired me. You know,
Good one.
Just so many artists have inspired me to, of course, you know, Earl the Pearl Monroe inspired me.
There you go.
Mookie Wilson inspired me.
I love that. Keith Hernandez.
Keith Hernandez.
That's my guy, Keith Hernandez.
Yeah, Keith Hernandez.
Raw Doc. Who inspired you?
That's a good question. I don't even know who had inspired me. I mean, my dad. I don't really know if I have like well there's Michael Jordan, but there's also like I'm in a weird profession where podcasting it's hard to be like, oh yeah, this person inspired me because it's so new. And I'm sure you probably were feeling that way. Like I used to listen to This American Life. I used to listen to all the time.
You have no inspiration.
There we go. I just gave you one. Ira Glass, This American Life. I loved that show. I loved Prairie Home Companion. Garrison Wheeler. That was always one of my favorite.
What's the name? I want to just jump in for a second.
Yeah. Keith
Hernandez was cool because he was
best.
He was a fantastic hitter, but also he was a great glove guy.
Yeah, 11 Gold Gloves.
The thing about Keith Hernandez, you always felt like he was thinking.
He was a thinker.
He was a thinker. So like that was that bit going on too. So he was
crossword puzzle every day in the clubhouse.
What's Keith what's he thinking about? Like he'd be like holding a guy on first, but you knew that he was like got something going on.
Scheme.
Yeah. And
he was like a pitching coach out there too. He would always go talk to the pitcher and say, "Hey, this."
Yes.
I loved him.
But my favorite player, it's interesting that you said that, was Mookie Wilson.
Mookie's great.
I loved watching Mookie Wilson play because I never saw anybody run like that. So I saw Mookie Wilson. They would he'd be on first, and it'd be a ground ball to short, and he would go all the way to third. The guy would like a routine play to first, and Mookie would go all the way to third. And I never saw. Do guys ever do that? I mean, I've never seen guys do that.
People don't run much anymore.
No, I'm thinking of what's the
strikeouts.
guy's name on? He used to play for the Reds. Billy
Hatcher?
No. Like recent guy, Billy Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
He was like that, where it's
Yeah.
like you don't see that very often.
You don't
Where if
see
a guy gets on first base, you're like, he's gonna score no matter what. If he gets on first base with no outs, because he's gonna steal a base, he's gonna get home on a single from second, that kind of thing.
So the other side of that question, I just want to say to you guys as an artist or a creator, sometimes the art that is so good, whether it's something like Mad Men or The Sopranos or a Martin Scorsese film, that it makes me want to go back to bed and I can't do anything. There's no point in me.
Yeah.
Like even doing anything because these guys are such geniuses.
Right.
So what's the point?
I feel that way all the time.
You could get like that. So
Impressed.
it's better to, like a work of art is just so amazing. But I am moved. I'm moved by Spike's work, and it made me. Well, he's my age. I could do that. Let me try to do something.
Right.
So it wasn't so much another shoe guy or a designer.
Well, Steve, let's talk about brilliance, because I think you are obviously brilliant, because you spent a couple of years at the greatest university on earth called the University of Miami.
Yes.
The U, baby. I've sat on that board for 17 years. Shameless plug.
The Hurricanes.
The
yes.
Canes, baby. And you were there at a fun time when we actually won games in football.
I was actually there just a little bit before the great.
Were you before Jimmy Johnson?
The great Howard Schnellenberger.
Okay, Howard.
A couple of years after I left, after I got kicked out. But
So now that your brilliance has been established
Yes.
many times,
Yes,
would you
that.
consider yourself a math or English person?
I'm an English person, for
Interesting.
sure. Yeah.
So you always hired great math people.
Absolutely. That was
Got it.
that's one thing that I would say to entrepreneurs out there if they're listening, is that knowing what you don't know is a great gift in business. So I'm a terrible math person.
Love that.
Have no interest in it, and I have these great people. I met this Indian fellow named Arvind when I just started out from Mumbai. He's a Gujarati, and the guy just, we were completely different. He's, completely straight-laced, and I'm wild man, and he just handled all the finances of the company.
Interesting.
I
Smart.
was allowed to be creative.
Right.
I wouldn't.
If we asked someone who's worked with you for a decade plus, what type of boss you are, what would they answer? Truth serum.
Well, I don't know. Some might say I'm a big pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really tough, but I'm passionate. And if you're not sharing that passion with me, it disappoints me. I'm not really like tough. I don't really, care if you come in at 9, that kind of thing. But if you get there at 10:15 and you're just insanely passionate, I love it.
Right.
But you could get there at 8:30 and be not passionate, and I'm sort of not into that.
Let's talk about passion a little bit. What does a day in a life look like for Steve Madden? Walk me through waking up all the way to going to sleep. One day.
Well, it's different now. I had kids. So
Twins.
I had twins. Yeah, I have 3 kids, and I had twins, and then I had a baby girl. And so my life is a little different today. And then I also got divorced.
Mm-hmm. So you're single.
Yeah, no, but I'm divorced. But I'm whatever. I'm divorced, and so I think about my kids a lot. I have my kids half the time. I have a great relationship with my ex-wife.
Where do they live?
Well, my ex lives, 4 or 5 blocks from me.
Oh, great.
Oh, nice.
So we manage that together, and so I think about my kids a lot. I'm older with young kids,
That's cool.
so it's a different thing. You know what I mean?
Keeps you young.
So, yeah, but you don't have as much time. So, thankfully, we built a great team at Steve Madden. So it allows me the freedom to sort of. In the old days, I did everything. I was touching every shoe, everything. Just shipping cases of shoes. But today, because of the great team that we have, I'm able to be sort of like at 5,000 feet, working on bigger things, and so I'm able to go into the bakery and buy a fresh rye bread.
So you're an
so
early
that my
riser,
kids can have fresh bread.
Right.
So that's kind of like a difference today. So I kind of dig that. I like to make them fresh bagels in the morning.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's sort of like I've sort of shifted on that.
Kat, are you an early riser?
When I have to be.
Yeah.
I'm more of a get up when I have to get up.
Got it.
I also have I have a young kid now too, so
Yeah.
I do now have
You
to
don't
get
have
up
a
lot
choice.
earlier. Yeah, right. It's not living on my own time anymore.
Yeah.
When you say that you are 5,000 feet and you're able to look at everything, does that mean that there could potentially be a shoe that goes to store and you haven't had anything to do with it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Is that difficult for you
It's
to
very
walk
difficult.
around and be
Yes.
like, hey, what's this? I wouldn't have done this. Or...
That might be the best thing that anybody's brought up in an interview. Of course, we have $1 billion company today. So, yes, it happens, and it does bother me. But I also know that the people that I trained everybody, they're great. And if they like it, it's part of my DNA anyway. I'm still touching most of the shoes, but it's you have to let go if you want to get really big, as you will find.
Yeah,
my friend.
Well,
and you're going to find as you build your, empire, you're going to need people that you trust to like. And it's hard to trust.
Yeah, I'm interested in this because if you see a shoe that you don't like that's out there and it doesn't do well, do you then say like, well, I would never have done that, and like, I can't believe you guys are doing this? Because I always find it interesting to see a boss graduate to that level where they can't touch everything, but then still the bad things, they're like...
If there was an Olympics for second guessing, I would be the gold medal.
Okay.
Just want to say that.
Yeah.
But no, you got to trust your team, and it's working out well.
Yeah. We're going to get back to Steve Madden in a second, but I want to talk to you about your home security first. You need to make sure that your loved ones, your prized possession, everything is taken care of, and I have the place for you. It's called Simply Safe. Simply Safe has everything you need to protect your home with none of the drawbacks of traditional home security. None of these tricky contracts, lousy customer support, none of that. It's not a headache when you use Simply Safe, because there are a lot of options out there, but there's only one no-brainer, and that is Simply Safe. It's got an arsenal of sensors and cameras to blanket every single room, window, and door, tailored specifically for your home. Professional monitoring keeps watch day and night, ready to send police, fire, or medical professionals if there's an emergency, and you can set it up yourself in under an hour. Just peel and stick the sensors exactly where you need them. No technician required. It's super, super easy. No contract, no pushy sales guys, no hidden fees, and no fine print. All that stuff that bogs people down with their home security, that doesn't exist when it comes to Simply Safe, and all of it starts at just $15 a month. I'm not the only one who thinks Simply Safe is great. U.S. News and World Report named it the best overall home security of 2020. So try Simply Safe today at simplysafe.com/corp. You get free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. There's nothing to lose. That's simplysafe.com/corp. simplysafe.com/corp. Try it today. I can guarantee you will be happy with Simply Safe, because Simply Safe does it the best and easiest. simplysafe.com/corp. Okay, now we're going to go back to Steve Madden. All right, can we go back real quick to the prison stuff? I know people are going to want to hear it.
Yeah.
You just did a documentary where you went all into it. So one, people obviously saw Wolf of Wall Street, and I think there was a little bit of a glorification of that era. Was it like, were the parties as crazy as they made it seem?
They were. It was surprisingly accurate.
That part?
Yes, it was.
So
Yes, it was.
just like extravagance and
a lot of money and women and drugs and stuff like that. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
So at what point when you're involved with these guys do you have an inkling like, hey, this might not be on the up and up? Like, this might not be going the way I thought it was?
I remember that Bear Stearns, which was a very credible Wall Street firm, did the clearing. So that was like a bit of the denial for me. Like, oh, Bear Stearns does the clearing for Stratton Oakmont, so it must be okay. Mm-hmm. But after a while, you kind of know in your gut that something is not.
And then when the roosters come home to cook, and you're like, all right,
roosters, the chicken's coming home to roost. Get your sayings right.
I got it right. There you go.
Come on.
The roosters come home to cook.
Chicken's coming home to roost.
When that happens, and you're like, I might be facing jail. Did you have like this is all over for me, or because it's incredible to see you coming out of jail, your company bounces back almost immediately, and what you're able to do in the second chapter of your life.
Yeah.
Was there a moment before you went to jail, you're like, it's it, that's it for me?
Oh, of course. Everybody watches as a kid movies about guys in prison. It's just the worst imaginable besides death. Prison is about as bad as it gets. And so you have this, you have that in your mind, and it is that. It is accurate. It is the worst thing.
Yeah.
It is completely awful. You denied all your. You're not with the people. You're not with your loved ones. Okay, and you can't. The food is terrible, and you denied your freedom. You can't leave. I mean, it's just as about as horrible as you could imagine, and the worst thing about prison is that you're not with you're not with your people. That's the worst thing. Because actually doing the time, you can do time, and human beings have the ability to adapt. You get into a little routine. Started working out. I never worked out before. Started lifting weights. You get along. I read a lot, got with the guys, and
So now you come out of jail.
it's heartbreaking. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
people come visit you, and then they go, and then you go back to your little bed, and it's a very heartbreaking. And I've seen like big, muscular dudes built like ARod, big, strong guys get called up to the lieutenant's office in prison, get served with divorce papers, come back in tears. Big, swolled up dudes come back crying. They're locked up for a year. Maybe they got a 3-4 year sentence. Wife leaves them after a year. Come back crying. I've seen that. It's just unbelievable.
How often are people actually fist fighting in there? You read a lot about that.
So where I was, I saw one fight in 2 years. I basically saw one fight. Most guys, penitentiary, I don't know. I wasn't in the penitentiary, but in the low or the medium or the camps, mostly a lot of drug dealers. Mostly those prisons are filled with drugs dealers. And most guys, when they have 5 years or less, they're trying to go home.
Right.
They're trying to get in trouble. And you don't really see a lot.
So then you come out of jail,
Yeah.
and you go back to run your wonderful company, and you give some of your inmates, your fellow inmates, jobs.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I lived with these guys, and I try to help some of them, and it was good. It was nice to give them a chance.
Yep.
Some of them worked out really well. Some of them didn't, and
It's a nice thing. It says a lot about you.
it's a good thing. I met some great guys. And the big thing is the drug thing. So they have very harsh drug sentences. Mostly black and Spanish guys. Although there are some white drug dealers. The ecstasy guys are white. But they pass really what I think are racially discriminatory sentences. Particularly crack cocaine came with such a heavy sentence. I'm sure but it's much more severe than powdered cocaine.
Right.
Where is crack being sold? In the hood. So they're giving those people a lot of time. And the white people who are sniffing cocaine aren't getting a lot of time. It's not fair. They're getting huge amounts of time, these crack dealers. 20 years, 20-year-old kids getting 20 years.
Wow.
18-year-old kid getting, 15 years in prison for selling crack, stuff like that. Anyway, but they're entrepreneurs who are just selling illegal stuff.
Right.
So I try to talk to these guys about that. I had a class in there, and I met some good guys. I met some guys that fucked up. I talk about that in the movie. Really cool guys.
I saw you also had a quote that success is addicting to you. So has that changed at all as you get older, as, like you said, you're, focused on your family a little bit more, or is that same type of I'm addicted to success, to winning every single day in my industry, does that stay with you?
Well, we want to win. I want to win. But, yeah, I think so. I mean, money is the score, right? Money is a metaphor for success. The pursuit of money, and it's the scorecard right now, for everybody, and that's how we do it. But it's not, and not to be like Gandhi right now, but like money will, in and of itself, will not make you happy. It's certainly nice to have money. Gives you freedom, and stuff, and that's great. But it will not, in and of itself, because it's got to be an inside job,
Right.
So that's what we think about, right? How do we, happiness, or I'm not even sure what that means, but it's such a, today that's what I think about more. I'm in the eighth inning now.
Right.
So
No,
but you know what I'm saying.
You're on the 13th hole.
All right, maybe I'm on the 14th hole. Okay, fair enough. But I'm just saying, like, you start to think about that,
So
Yeah.
thinking about that,
I'm fearful. Like, I was thinking for many years, like, I got to pay the rent.
Yeah.
I got to I'm worried about losing my house, that kind of stuff. But then now I know that that's a little extreme,
so Big Cat thinks you're in the 14th hole. I think you're more like in the 11th hole.
Okay, good. Yes.
My
okay.
question to you is, how do you want to be remembered professionally and personally?
Grateful. I want to be remembered grateful and, a good friend and a good parent. And how do I want to be remembered? Yeah, that's it. I was a professional, at my job, at the end of the day, I make shoes, to put food on my table and to put food in my kids, feed my children. And that's what I do. I'm a professional, I mean, I'm sure you've grappled with that as an athlete, but at some point you would be said, this is what I do for a living.
That's right.
Yeah, this is what I do.
Yeah.
So professional.
What about the legacy of the Steve Madden brand? Have you thought about how you want it to keep going, past when you're not involved at all?
Yeah.
Or is it something that it's so intertwined with who you are?
No, it's going to outlive me for sure. And it's got a spirit, and I have a whole bunch of young people that I work with that carry that on. We have a definite, sort of philosophy in our company and a mantra, and about who we are. And it seems simplistic sometimes, but everybody that's down with me and with the company shares that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as we've got bigger, that's the challenge with a corporation, as you will find, because you seem to be growing like crazy, that you got to keep that spirit in your the spirit that got you here. Now, as you get bigger, how do I keep that spirit throughout the company? Because it's so big, and you don't talk to everybody anymore. There's a time when you go from knowing everybody that works for you, and then like all of a sudden one day it's growing, and you like don't know half the people. You never met them, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah. No, we've had that happen in the last 4
Yeah.
years. We all moved here to New York 4 years ago with 8 employees. Now we have 215. And that happened where you're just like, wait, I don't know. There's
that's
people
awesome.
who you just don't know anymore.
Yeah.
It definitely changes who we are. But you're absolutely right. The spirit and like
You got to keep that spirit in.
the competitive drive.
Yeah.
All right, my last question.
Yes, sir.
Are you intimidated by my sneakers, and how much have sneakers kind of taken a bite out of your life?
I never wear sneakers. I just want you guys to know, I never wear sneakers. I work out in, don't think I'm crazy.
Boots?
I work out in boots.
Oh my God.
Swag, I love it.
I work out in boots because in prison, that's when I started, you had to wear steel toe boots to go to what we called the weight pile. It was a weight pile. And you weren't allowed in with sneakers in case you dropped a weight on your foot, stuff like that. So I work out with boots. But before that even, sneakers was the enemy of Steve Madden. But what happened was, I admire Nike so much, by the way, just in case you want to know. I think Nike's just a fantastic company. But we do make sneakers today. And we're killing it with sneakers.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Nike. We have a division called Greats that we just acquired. Really hipster, Brooklyn kind of hipster. Actually, I think we're talking to one of your old colleagues, Derek Jeter, about maybe doing something. And so I love sneakers, but it's just not for me.
So how many days in your life since you were, let's say, 25, have you worn a pair of sneakers?
Maybe 3 days.
Jesus Christ.
I swear.
That's crazy.
They feel mushy. So, okay, what I do, so I play a lot of golf.
Yeah.
ARod and I are members of the same golf club in Florida. And sometimes the the golf shoes now are kind of sneakery. So I may rock those a little bit. I may wear those.
Okay, but regular
Got little
sneakers, maybe
cleats,
3 days.
Not cleats, but like little things on the bottom. I kind of dig those.
That's wild.
But I don't wear those.
Yeah.
Steve, I got a little lightning rod round for you here.
Okay.
All right, what song do you sing in the shower to yourself?
Oh, God. Oh my God. I found myself singing the song Our House by Graham Nash.
Okay.
And, you know, because I was with my kids and they were kind of like running around, and you know that song, Our House.
Two cats in the yard.
Two cats in the, and then I was watching a show called This Is Us. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but they do it in the show, and it blew my mind. It was so well done. But like that song is in my head now.
Mets or Yankees?
Yankees now, but I grew up with the '86 Mets of Keith Hernandez and Mookie Wilson.
We're like twins.
Darryl Strawberry.
And Keith Hernandez and Doc.
Yeah, and I saw Darryl recently.
He's the best.
He's great.
I love him.
He looks great. He's an awesome dude.
Did you party with him in the 90s?
I did not. No, I wasn't cool enough.
Book or Kindle?
What's that?
Book or Kindle?
Book.
Give me one of your favorite books of all time.
You're not going to believe this. I'm going to give you 2 books that
I love it.
I'm going to give you 2 books.
Be the
Ball
first 2 books
4.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I read that when I was a kid. Jim Bouton wrote it.
Yeah.
He was a pitcher for the Yankees. It was the first sort of like hipster sports book ever written. And it told like it was like almost like a tell-all about Major League Baseball. And it was so funny and so cool. So that was that book I just loved that book. And he wrote like a bunch of sequels after that.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other book that I love, the greatest novel I've ever read is The Godfather.
Oh, wow.
I know that people talk about the movie. It was a great movie, you know, but the book was so amazing. You know, I'm always looking for a book that is like very interesting to read, but also kind of teaches you stuff. And I didn't know anything about that.
Kat, you and I are more like the movies.
Yeah.
Well, the phone is ruining our reading.
And last 2 for me, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
And if you had one last meal, what would that meal be?
Steak and eggs.
There you go.
Ooh. Okay. Oh, and I have one last question. I give out Madden codes online on Twitter.
Yeah.
For the game.
Okay.
You want to do a little cross promo? Maybe you give me Madden codes for the shoe.
Yeah, sure.
And I'll give those out.
Okay, let's do it.
Like that would kind of confuse people.
You know, I don't really dig the pizza thing you guys do.
Yeah, ARod's about to go do that if you want to go with him. He's literally about to go do that.
I think
do that.
I got a good joint for you that I order up from.
You should literally go with him right now.
Yeah, I love it because I've always been like a little bit of a fantasy. I love pizza.
Yeah.
And, you know, somebody that's doing the work, man. Do the work.
We're going to go crush one right now.
ARod is about to go.
Which pizza you going to?
Down the street, right?
We're going down.
Well, I'll go down there
with
with
him.
you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Nice.
I'm starving.
Let's
so.
do it. Okay.
All right. Well, Steve Madden, thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate you coming on the Corp.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Thanks.
All right.